That's okay, no, sorry. And I was supposed to be going over the stage app with her, which, as I'll tell you about, is really cool. But with Miss Bacon, we needed to take a few steps back and really understand the idea of technology, I guess. So as you know, she has a grade 2-3 class, and she thought that when I came in, she would be able to pick up this app, and she wanted to integrate local newspaper clippings, because what she was doing initially was she ordered in all of these Times Colonist newspapers. I think she had over 24 coming in from each print. So she gets this 24, I don't know if it's daily or every 2 days or 3 days, and then she would find just the 2 or 3 articles that the grade 2-3 class would actually be able to understand or even be interested in reading about, and she would cut them out and then have them ready for the students, which A, was time consuming and just silly, because it's this piece of paper, a lot of kids would rip them or not look at them, or then they'd be stained, or someone would lose them and there'd be fights, and the pictures were hard to see. So Tim's idea was that we would show her a stage app so that she could just have the newspaper clipping underneath and present it. However, when I came in, I first went and spoke with, I guess it's their computer class teacher.
Daryl Beck,
yes. So I'm not sure if he has other classes, but he teaches Miss Bacon's computer time. So I came in the first time during this computer class, and I first went to Daryl. I showed up a little early, and I got, I don't also know the name for this, the little white part that connects you to a projector. Dongle. So I went and I got a dongle, and first when I connected the iPad, I opened up a new, like, Times Colonist or CNN or something for her, and she was just blown away that she wouldn't even need to use this app. She could just have the iPad plugged in and project it. For example, like this is being projected now, just like that. So she wouldn't actually have to use the app. She could almost erase the idea of the app. But I really wanted to teach her this idea of the app because it was part of our project. So I showed her this, but then I also saw that when her students came back from computer class, they were doing this math assignment where on, you know, those old school projectors, where you put something on top and the light shines from the bottom and it goes on the board.
Yeah.
So she had number blocks on them.
old school, that's what I used to use all the time.
Take a whole unit, break it into the 4 pieces, take away 4 pieces. So that's what she was doing. So then I thought for the next time when I come back, I could show her a way to do that using this, because that's something she wouldn't be able to just, you know, take off her screen. So this is my little Prezi that I did. So it's a little road. See how fun that is? This is the teacher's intent with the old school projector. So we went over that a little bit. Her initial ideas was to use Stage. However, we sort of did it a little differently, where we actually used the iPad to project what was on the iPad as opposed to having to go through the app and place stuff underneath it. This will make a little more sense when I show you. So what I did to prepare, Tim showed me the app in class, and I just spent a couple minutes. Honestly, it's a really straightforward app. It's free, and it's one of those things where you can teach somebody the main points, but you really need to just play around with it yourself. So what I did is I just spent some time. I just put, you know, whatever I wanted underneath. I think I used a newspaper clipping just because that was what I thought I was going to be doing, and went over the cool different facts and all the stuff you can do with it. So this is Stage, and I'll just show you what you can do, for example. So you have the iPad put up, and if you, can everyone see this other screen here? So you can put something underneath.
Where did it just go? It was there a minute ago.
Yeah, I think they just went under here. Perfect. Thanks, Tim.
It's coming.
It's just lovely.
So all these pictures from on here.
There we go. Okay. So for example, okay. There we go. See, this is kind of tricky. Let's see. But in a normal class, classroom when it would be dark and the lights would be out, you can really project whatever image is on here. You can zoom in on the image. So for example,
Cool.
that's not what I want to do. So the students can see if she wanted. We went away from doing the newspaper clipping. When I came in the second time, we had this game that she does where she has a box with many different objects in the box, and the students normally crowd around her, and everyone's trying to see what these objects are in the box. If there's 21 students in her class, they're little, they're usually the same height. Students can't see over one another. Students don't get the chance to really understand what she's talking about when she says this object is sharp or this object has this many edges or whatnot. But if she had these objects in here, she can physically pull them out or hide them, and every student from their desk can see what's on there. Or if a student brings in something for show and tell, for example, a book, and the teacher wants to say, okay, can somebody tell me where the title is, or can somebody tell me what the subject is or what the theme is, she can go through and underline and say, this is the subject, and all of the students can see what is highlighted. Obviously, she would need to work so that it's like properly. If everyone understands what I'm trying to say, like this. So it's actually going in the correct order. So you just have to remember you have your iPad placed the right way. There we go, like that. So it takes some time, obviously, to set it up. But it's just that initial idea of, she was very uncomfortable with even needing to set this up. And, I think she was just really nervous about having to go through these problems of, oh, do I have it in the right position? And, when I would go through it with her, I would say, okay, so just look at the screen and turn the page. And for her, it was like, okay, well, why don't you first show me and then I'll do it. So I think she's just really nervous of making these mistakes. I think she still, kind of like Tim said, has that old school mentality where she doesn't want to be shown making mistakes in front of her class. She wants to be perfectly prepared for everything. And I can understand that, but I think after working with her and just really giving her that one-on-one time, she felt a little more comfortable. And then I'll be coming back in December after we're done our final, and then actually using this in class. So I'm there to sort of watch her, but we've had enough practice time that she can do it herself, and I'll be there should, a little glitch arise.
Mr. Beck is very happy that you're doing that.
Yes, and well, that was the thing. Mr. Beck, he's told them, all of the teachers have had, not a Pro D Day, but they had, I think, either a lunch period or a meeting where he presented the same thing that I just did for all the teachers, and most of the teachers are able to pick it up and they feel comfortable, grabbing an iPad and working through it themselves just like I did. But she's had this iPad for ages and she's never even opened it. It just sits in like one of the things, and she brought it out. She even she had to ask me, the iPad was like this, and she goes, okay, so how do you turn it on? And so I had to go through these steps of sliding it, and she was like really worried about sliding things. Sorry, I went through that quickly. Sorry, I didn't know that would happen.
Neither did I.
But it was just like a huge learning curve for just the idea of feeling comfortable that if something goes wrong, you can fix it. And then, so the other thing that we learned, can I open Safari on here?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what we actually spent our majority of time doing.
Should be down the bottom, I think. Isn't it?
No.
Oh, go. Keep going. Right to the beginning. Keep going. We've got a lot of apps on here, haven't I, really? Well, there's Prezi, look.
Is it not at the bottom?
Like next to the
No,
camera?
that's just mail and the App Store. So for example, this is honestly what we just focused on is I would help her open the Safari browser and she would have all of these obviously closed, and then I would show her the idea of opening a new page and then typing in Times Colonist. And so she would open Times Colonist, and then I showed her how to save links so she could find something the night before, or even, for example, when they're at computer class, she could go on Times Colonist and find a newspaper clipping or an article, that she had heard on the radio or something, and she could pull that up, save it, because another problem for her was the idea that when she opens Times Colonist, she doesn't want all the students looking at things like this, like that there was a car crash or that there was a death. So she wanted to really censor the student from these things, but also from the advertisement. So I showed her how she can, you know, take this ad or article, for example, and then bookmark it so that when the students come back, she can just go through her bookmarks and click on the specific articles that she liked.
Alright.
So that's what we worked on. So we went over the speed bumps that we had. What really worked well was she was really excited about having the one-on-one time. I think it actually worked to my advantage that it was just me going in as opposed to having 2 or 3 of us. I think she gets quite overwhelmed when there's more people who not know more, but I think she just feels more comfortable in a one-on-one setting where it's just you and her. And I spoke to her about the understanding that it was also a learning curve for me because I'm not great with technology, so she really appreciated that. I think what was really hard was her limited knowledge, so the idea of I wanted to teach her this app, but we really needed to backtrack. But it was okay, we figured it out eventually. I had a little interview with her. I think the biggest tip she had for me was to really know your teacher, you're going in their level of understanding. So for example, most of you knew, or maybe some of you also didn't know, how much technology information your teacher had. So for me, even though most of you maybe just went in once or twice, I probably needed those 2 or 3 times to go in, and then only on the 4th time would we actually use the app with the classroom. So that she just sort of said, have a conversation with your teacher, even if it's just by the phone, because obviously by email, I'm sure you all figured out it's really difficult to get a hold of teachers by email. They're super busy. So she said, give their call in the classroom and figure out where their level is, and then go from there so that you're not coming in wanting to teach this app and then getting really pulled back because, you know, the teacher needs way more than just going straight into to an app. This was a conclusion. I would love to tell you about this, but it's really boring. So I'm just going to move forward and say we are ready to use this stage app in class in December when I go back.
Thank you. Just 1 or 2 questions quickly for Kinga.
So this stage app is kind of like a document cam, but you can draw on it.
Yeah, so it works as a whiteboard. So for now, like the teacher could even, if she had a smart board, she could have the image projected and you can write on it here, which is what most teachers are doing. But the nice thing is you can have students come up and do it on there, or you can screenshot a student's homework and then throw it up, or a student's presentation and throw it up. Or you can do things live. For example, if a student wants to do a presentation and say they're really nervous getting up in front of the whole class, you can have that iPad set up in a separate room where they're by themselves just in front of the iPad, but the whole class is watching it in live time.
You can also video record you on it, and it will record your screen that you're talking as you're drawing on it. The other thing is a dot cam costs $150, $160. Yeah.
This app is free.
And just put it on, like up on the tripod, and you've got the whole thing. Same as you would buy a dot cam. So why buy a dot cam now? As long as you can put this on a nice base, it works just the same. Like actually Lauren Thompson is doing in her class, she's got the same. She was interested in this app. So yeah, the dongle's like $25, $20. $20 for that dongle.
Yeah, and most schools actually have them.
Yeah. Thanks, Kinga.
Yeah.